Hello, grade 9 students. So today I will be teaching you on how to simplify radicals or simplifying radicals. So in the last topic that we had, we can simply simplify our radicals by getting the square root and cube root or any and root. So now let's simplify the radicals with the numbers or the radicand that is not a perfect square, perfect cube, or perfect any and root. So now let us start with the first example. We have here the square root of 8. So how are we going to simplify square root of 8? So as you can see, square root of 8 is not a perfect square. So what we're going to do is to factor the radicand. How to factor? Factor the radicand and find the number or the factor which has a perfect square. So for example, we have here the factors of 8. We can have 4 times 2. So let's examine the factors. So 4 is a perfect square and 2 is not. So we can use 4 times 2 as the factor of 8. So we can say that the square root of 8 is equal to square root of 4 times 2. So now, to simplify this one, just get the square root of 4, square root of 4, and the square root of 2. Then, get the square root of 4, which is 2. So, since 2 is not a perfect square, just copy the number or the expression which has no perfect square. So, just simply write square root of 2. So, then, this is your answer. So next, let's move on to the second example. We have here this square root of number 2, square root of 250. So what we're going to do is also factor this out. So what are the factors of? Think the factor of the 250 that you think that one number there or at least one number there having a perfect square. So we can say that the factor of 250 is 25 times 10. So let's factor this one. 250 is equals to square root of 25 times 10. Then the same process, just get the square root of 25 and the square root of 10. So this means that this is multiplication. It serves as multiplication. Square root of 25 times square root of 10. So get the square root of 25. So, square root of 25 is 5. Then just copy the square root of 10 because 10 is not a perfect square. Then this is your answer. So let's move on to our another example. So for example number 3. So as you can see, our radicand is a fraction. So for number 3, square root of 200 over 81. So square root of 200 over 81. So to get the square root of the fraction, you have to get the square root of the numerator, which is 200, over the square root of the denominator, which is 81. So hindi siya isahang buha. Kailangan kunin muna yung numerator, square root of the numerator, and the square root of the denominator. So from here, titingnan nyo na kung ang radicand ay perfect square or hindi. So for 200, 200 is not a perfect square. But for the denominator, which is square root of 81, 81 is a perfect square. So now let's go to what we're going to do here is to factor the 200. So think of a number or the factor of 200 that is perfect square. So we can say 100 times 2. So 100 times 2 is equals to 200. So we will use 100. So 100 is a perfect square number. So let's write square root of 100 times 2 over the square root of 81. So square root of 81 is simply 9. So next, let's get the square root of 100 times the square root of 2 then your answer is square root of 100 is 10, square root of 2 over 9. So this is your final answer. You can still reduce this one if your numerical coefficient and your denominator are having common numbers or common factors. So you can simply factor it out or express that one into the lowest term. So we will try the next example. So you are using space. So this one is the same as this one because we have the fraction radicand. So first we have number 4, square root of x raised to 5, y raised to 2 or y squared 25x. So what we are going to do here is to get the square root of the numerator, square root of denominator, then 25x. So now we have here the most complex than this problem. So since we have the exponent in each variable, how are we going to simplify this one? So what you can do is to review your lesson all about rational exponents. So it means your exponents are fractions. So you have to review that one in order for you. That's the unit before this problem or examples. So first, what we're going to do is to factor the exponents. So as you can see, our radical or our radical sign having or without the index written. So it is understood that this one having an 2 as the index. So this is your reference for factoring the each exponent or each radicals or each variable. So now let's factor the numerator first. So square root of let's factor first that x raised to 5. So remember the product rule. It is important to remember what is the product rule. So if you're going to multiply the x and you add the exponent, so we will use x raised to 4 times x raised to 1 times y. So y raised to 2. Why we didn't factor out 2? Because its exponent is 2 and 2 divisible by 2, which is our index. So if we're going to factor the radicand with exponent, always think what is your index. So dapat yung exponent ninyo na factor, yung exponent na factors ninyo ay divisible by the index. So for example, 5 is not divisible by 2. So ibig sabihin, kailangan yung factor. Since si 2 is divisible by 2, so pwede nang hindi i-factor. So just like this one, pwede siya, yes, because 4 is divisible by 2. So how about if we're going to use x raised to 5 can be factor as x raised to 3 times x raised to 2. Because if we're going to add 3 and 2 is equals to 5. But we can use this one, we can factor this one because the 2 is divisible by the index 2. But here is not divisible. And if we're going to simplify that one, we can still factor x raised to 3 into x raised to 2 and x squared times x. So it means mas mahaba yung process. But always get the greatest perfect factor. So, kaya nito, yung 250, marami naman siyang ibang factors. Pero, kukunin natin yung pinakamalaking greatest perfect factor. So, yun yung gagamitin. So, next, let's go to the denominator. So, we have here the square root of 25x. Just simply, square root of 25 times x. So, ganito yung factor niyan or just it. So, next, what we're going to do is to find number or get the square root of each 8 terms. So we have here the square root of 4. So square root of x raised to 4 times square root of x times square root of y raised to 2, or y squared, and then square root of 25, and then square root of x. So pwede nang walang multiplication symbol dyan, pwede na yun. And then let's go back here. So from here, let's get the square root of x raised to 4. So, how to get that one? Just rewrite it into a rational exponent. So, kung naalala nyo kung paano isulat yung isang rational exponent into radicals, pabalik na din yun. So, for example, we have here x raised to 1/2. It is equals to square root of x. Ibig sabihin, yung denominator ng expression nyo or ng exponent is the index, yung exponent is, yung numerator is the exponent. So, galing dito, ganun din, pabaliktad din yung gagawin natin. So, now from here, we can say we write x, then we have the exponent 4. So, what we're going to do is to write the exponent as your numerator of the exponent. So, lagay natin si 4, and then, yung index dito, so, ibig sabihin nito, kung wala nakasulat, automatically that's 2. So, lalagyan natin sa denominator, lagay natin si 2 as your denominator. So, saan galing to? Ito yung exponent of the radicand. Ito yung index. Para mas malaman nyo, or also, hindi kayo malito kung anong gagamitin. So, ibig sabihin, pag denominator, index, numerator, the exponent of the radicand. So now, let's move on. So next, i-extract natin to. For example, we have here x raised to, automatically there is an exponent 1. So it means we will put 1 as our numerator and also 2 as our denominator. Next, we have here y. We will write 2 as our numerator and also 2 as our index. Next, for the denominator, square root of 25, 5. Then, square root of x. Kasi ito, hindi na natin ito na-factor. So, or we can also write this one as x raised to 1/2. Pero, baliktad, pabalik nyo, they are just the same. So next, we have your x raised to 4/2. So 4 divided by 2 is equals to 2. Write x. Then 4 divided by 2 is equals to 2. Then we have here x raised to 1/2. Since 1 is not divisible by 2, so it means ito ay ibalik natin into the radical. So gaya ito. So x raised to 1/2 just equals to square root of x. So now, babalik na natin into square root of x. Then, y raised to 2/2 or 2 divided by 2 is just simply equals to 1. Then, the remaining term or the simplified form is y. Then, over 5 square root of x. Then, we will rewrite this as x squared y square root of x over 5 over x. So, since this one is just simply, pwede na natin siya i-cancel because the square root of x divided by the square root of x is just equals to 1. So, we can have our answer x squared y over 5. So, then, that is your final answer. So, if you have questions about